Hello and welcome to week 19 of the Country Garden Crochet Along. And this week we're making the diamond stitch again, but this time we're going to make it as the colourwork version, so we get those beautiful diamonds really standing out on a different coloured background. So how do we make it? Okay, so we're going to be doing this stitch very much the same as the arrow stitch. So it's still the diamond stitch, but in the terms of where we're placing all our stitches, it's the same as the colourwork arrow stitch. So here's the end of your single colour arrow stitch pattern, and your last stitch went into the second corner stitch. We're going to be starting in the next stitch across. Okay, so join with your light green and chain one, and then in the same stitch make a single crochet. So the pattern itself is going to be exactly the same as the diamond stitch we did last week, and we're going to be starting with the second colour on row 3. So the first 2 rows are exactly the same as we did last week. So row 1, you're just going to make a single crochet in every stitch across. Nice and easy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I shall be back in a second and show you which stitch we finished the row in. Okay, so I'm at the end of the row, and I'm finishing in the stitch before you get to the corner of last week's panel. Okay, so you're not going to make a stitch in the same stitch as that panel, you're going to finish in the stitch before. So once you've got there, you can turn. Okay, and chain one, and make a double crochet turning chain in the first stitch. And then row 2, you're just going to double crochet in every stitch across. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make that double crochet in every stitch. Then I'll come back to you at the start of row 3, and then we'll be adding in our second colour. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so I finished row 2 and I've turned. Then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to start a single crochet in the first stitch. I'm going to leave the last 2 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to bring in my second colour, and I'm just going to join that in right there. So I'm just going to tighten everything up a little bit before we carry on. So there we go. All that. There. Right, that shall do. So now I'm going to yarn over twice. Okay, so we're working around the post in row 1. So we're going to skip the first 3, and then we're going to go around the post of the 4th single crochet in row 1, and we're going to make a front post treble. Leave the last 2 loops on your hook. Drop your green, the dark green, pick up the light green, oops, and pull through the 2 loops. And then I'm just going to give everything a tug again to make sure everything's as it should be. Hang on. Right, and then just arrange your carrying threads. It's always a bit confusing when you've got tails and everything lying around. Okay, so now we need to make our next few stitches. So the dark green will always be the one that you make your front post stitches with, and the lighter green would be your background colour. Okay, that's why I'm getting muddled up. Let me just rearrange that, should be under there, get out of the way. Right, so we're going to be carrying the darker green. Just make sure everything's kept taut. You don't want it so tight it ruffles up, you just want it to carry nicely. So there's my first stitch, there's the stitch that our front post stitch is made in front of, and so here is our next stitch. I'm going to work the single crochets over the top of the darker green, and we're going to make 3 single crochet, 2, and here's the third, but leave the last 2 loops on your hook. We're going to drop the light green and pick up the dark green and pull through the 2 loops. Pull that tight. So now we're going to make the front post treble 2 together to make our first V of our diamond. So yarn over twice. We're going to go back to the same post that we worked through before. Pull through, then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Leave the last 2 loops on your hook, yarn over twice again, skip the next 3 stitches in row 1 and go around the next post. So we pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, leave the last 3 loops on your hook, drop the dark green and pick up the light green. I'll pull that through the last 3 loops. Okay, and there's our first full V. And you can see we're starting to make the diamonds here. And now we repeat. So there's our last stitch we worked in, that's the stitch our front post trebles are in front of. So the next stitch along is where we start making our single crochets, and we carry on carrying the darker green. So 3 single crochet, 1, 2, and the third, but don't finish it, leave the last 2 loops on your hook, drop the light green, pick up the dark green and pull through. Okay, and now we're going to repeat the V. Yarn over twice, go back to the front post stitch we did before, pull through 2 loops, 2 loops, leave the last 2 loops on your hook, yarn over twice again. Then I'm going to skip the next 3 single crochet and we're going to work through the post of the 4th. So pull through 2 loops, then the next 2 loops, leave the last 3 loops on your hook, drop the dark green, pick up the light green and pull through the 3 loops. And you're just repeating that pattern all the way across. So it's the exact same pattern as last week, it's just that we're switching colours so we get this lovely colour work pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row and I shall come back to you when I get to the end. Okay, so I've got to the end of the row and I've done my last full front post treble 2 together, and I've done the next 2 single crochet. So in the next stitch I'm going to start the next single crochet, and then we will do a half, well a single front post treble to then finish the row. Oops. So over the top of the green, drop the light and pick up the dark. Okay, so once that stitch is done and that colour change is done, we've got 2 stitches left of the row. I'm going to yarn over twice, go back around the same post we've just been working around, but instead of leaving 2 loops on the hook to start the next part, I'm going to leave 2 loops on the hook, swap back to the light green, pull that tight, and then single crochet in the last stitch. Don't need to carry the dark green for this last one, you can just cut it off where it is. And that is row 3 complete. So we can cut off the darker green now. We won't need it for the next row, and we don't carry the colours up for this. Okay, so I'm going to turn, and row 4 is a double crochet row. So after we turned, we chain 1, and in the first stitch we make a double crochet turning chain. Just bring my stitch marker up. And then we're just going to double crochet in every stitch across. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I shall come back at this so we can start row 5. So I finished row 5. 2, 3, no, 1, 2, 3, row 4, and we're going to start row 5. That's the one. Okay, so after I finish row 4, I've turned, and I'm going to chain 1 and make a single crochet in the first stitch. Just pop that in there. Okay. So now we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. But on the third one I'm going to leave the last 2 loops on my hook, and we're now going to start the top of our next diamond. So bring back the darker green, and we'll pull that through these 2 loops, yarn over twice, and we'll start making our first V. So now we're going to add to the top of these diamonds. Okay, so we're going to be working around this post here of the first treble, post treble that we did in row 3. So pull through 2 loops, pull through 2 loops, do the last 2 loops on your hook, yarn over twice, and move to the next set of stitches. And this time we're going to work underneath both these front post trebles. Okay, so your hook goes through both of them. Yarn over, pull through both those loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. Leave the last 3 loops on your hook. Drop the dark green and pick up the light green. Where's it gone? There we go. And pull through all 3 loops. And then we've got the top of your diamond. Okay, so as we did before, we're going to be carrying the darker green and working our single crochet over the top of it. So our next stitch is not that one, this one. Okay, so make a single crochet and single crochet in the next stitch, and then the next one is we start the single crochet, these last 2 loops on your hook, drop the light green and pick up the dark. Oops. There we go, I'll just pull that tight. Okay, so it's the exact same pattern as we did in the last row, it's just that we're moving things over a bit. So instead of our upside down V's being here, they're here. So we complete our diamond. Okay, so to start the next one, you're going under the same 2 posts as before. Okay, so both back through both posts. So you'll work this twice for each stitch. Do the next part of the front post treble 2 together, yarn over twice again, and then move on to the next set and go under both of those again. And then finish the stitch until you have 3 loops left on your hook, and then we drop the dark green, pick up the light again, and pull through all 3 loops. Okay, so we're going to be having a series of diamonds all the way across. Okay, and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches again. And then at the top of the 3rd single crochet we'll change colours and repeat again. And that's all we're going to do across the entire row. Pick up the green, and there we go. So I'm going to carry on with that, and I shall see you when I get to the end of this row. Okay, so I got to the end of the row, and after my last front post treble 2 together, I've made a single crochet in the last 3 stitches, and then you can cut off the dark green. Okay, so we can't carry those over to the next set of diamonds. And that's row 5 done. So row 6 is a double crochet row, and rows 7, 8, 9 and 10 are a repeat of rows 2 to 5. Okay, so yeah, we've done row 5 and now we're going to repeat again, except when you do your next set of diamonds, instead of working it into a single crochet, you're working it into the front post loops the same as we did row 5. So that's the only difference, but where your stitches are formed and how many is exactly the same as row 3. Okay, so we just finished row 5. Row 6 is a repeat of row 2, row 7 is a repeat of row 3, row 8 is a repeat of row 4, row 9 is a repeat of row 5, and row 10 is a row of double crochet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and I shall come back to you at the end of the panel. Okay, so I finished row 10, and after that final row double crochet I've cut off and weaved in my ends. So we now have this beautiful trellis look made with our diamonds. And that's this week complete. So that finishes off the 4 trellis-like panels around our blanket, and next week we're going to start on the squares that will fit into these corners. So I shall see you next week to start on those. Bye for now.